Yes. Back again with the boys on the Big Five with Tev and Ty. We're into episode 7 already, man. This year is flying. We're also right on the money with how many podcasts we're putting out there, and each and every episode has been such a joy to make. It's also hear everyone's feedback on it. Again, I just want to say a big shout out to everyone that's been with us, be it from day one, be it from last week. Your input makes a big difference to us. Once again, I'm going to give a shout out to my father-in-law. He said that the Big Vibe has been a game changer for him. He says that he's been given a lot more topics to talk about in his social circles. So,
oh wow!
Credit to the Big Vibe, credit to him. Thank you for listening in. And I hope that's the same for a lot of you guys. You're getting out there, you're sparking conversation, you're getting a bit more perspective on everything in life, be it news, sport, and in matters of the heart, of course. So welcome again. This is going to be another jam-packed episode.
For sure.
We loved all your engagement from last week, and seeing how many of you guys actually went to and watch what you have the most interest in. So, as you know, we broke up our episode. We had the full hour thereabouts length episode, and then we broke it up into each section. So you had sports on its own, you had news on its own, you had matters of the heart on its own. So yeah, again, let us know if that's working for you guys, if you're enjoying the bite-sized versions. We're really looking to use all of that.
Yeah, so we're obviously going to continue down that path. We're going to be releasing the same thing in the four different episodes. I also just wanted to give a quick shout out to you, Tev. I must say that the video editing, the slide in between boards. Look, if you only listen to the podcast, Tev's video editing will kind of go by without you noticing. So check out on YouTube, just see what the man does, the hard work that he puts in. It looks so clean. It looks beautiful. I mean, really. So it's really sick. I mean, it obviously helps the podcast. I don't know if I would have been able to do that kind of thing. So yeah, big shout out to you. My mom as well. She said that she really likes how the videos flow. And she told me straight up, she's like, look, I wouldn't be listening if I didn't enjoy it. So, and she did ask me for a shout out. So I don't know if it's quite as organic as she would have liked, but there you go. But she did want to say that your video editing is, and I agree, it's super clean. So good job. Well done to you. Nice one. Thank you for that.
Thank you guys. Yeah, that's what we're about. It's about learning, it's about experimenting and just having fun with it. I think that's the basis of why we started this podcast.
Exactly.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you to And we'll jump right into the first section, which we call News from Around the World. So, everybody that's been on social media, that's listened to the news, that's watched the news, has seen that the UK Prime Minister Liz Truss has resigned after 44 days in office. It has come as a bit of a surprise.
Was it like sudden? Was it just out of nowhere? Did you kind of see it coming?
I don't think she started off on the right foot. And I think what was really her Achilles heel was the mini budget speech that she gave. I saw a response from, I don't know if he's called a chancellor or essentially like the finance minister of the UK, where he essentially rebuked all of her propositions in the mini budget speech. And that obviously didn't go down well with the rest of Parliament. And I think that just was the final nail in her coffin. So she resigned, 44 days in office. And if you're on social media, you would have seen that. I think it was the Daily Mail or the Daily Star that put a live stream out. So it was a webcam and it had a picture of Liz Truss and it had a bunch of lettuce. So we had a lettuce ball, and the idea around the video was to see who would last longer. Would the lettuce outlast Liz Truss in office? And surprise, the lettuce actually outlasted. Around 2 weeks ago. So it ran for about 2 weeks. And the lettuce is still in fairly decent shape. Not so much for Liz Truss, unfortunately. So yeah, that is the big news that's coming out of the UK. We are already having a new Prime Minister. Everything has honestly happened so quickly. It's ridiculous how quickly we've come to this point. In terms of who's supposed to take over, there's still likely a Conservative member that's going to be in the race to take her spot. So that's kind of underway at the moment. And there's about 4 candidates that I've seen being presented or pitted to take her spot. The most notable one is Boris Johnson, who was the previous
Coming
MP.
back.
Yeah, he could come back for round 2, man.
Oh, wow,
so
okay.
he's one of those in the hat because, like everyone's seen, he's been able to do a job. I'm not going to say the job, but he's been able to do a job previously. So his name is in the hat. We also see Penny Mordaunt. I hope I've said that correctly. She's leader of the Commons, and she was the first to announce her bid to become the next Prime Minister. She's up in competition with Rishi Sunak, the former Chancellor, and he was the runner-up to Truss in the previous bid for MP. So I actually think he might take it. That's who the polls currently have as the favourite. And then we have Boris Johnson, obviously, who said farewell to his position shortly before the Queen had passed away, and the last name in it is Suella Braverman. Yeah, she's set to be the next Conservative Party leader in the summer.
Does it work that like, let's say the Conservatives are in power, that the next leader would be from the Conservative Party? Like, it's not like an opportunity for an opposing party to come in, right? It's kind of like an internal thing. It's not like a British citizen vote.
Yeah, I believe so. I believe that you essentially vote for a candidate from the ruling party. As far as I understand, I may be wrong. I will definitely check my facts on that. But for the purposes of this discussion, yes, it is the 4 candidates from the Conservative Party that are have put their names in for the ruling.
I've actually I've seen quite a lot of news related to obviously this. Quite a funny gif of Ronaldo walking out of Old Trafford, but they edited Truss's head onto it. Like, I thought that was pretty funny. But I saw quite a lot of news related to Brexit and how there was quite a big protest for Brexit, but essentially to come to an end. They were calling it like Brunited, or like to get back into the EU, some funny names like that. But there was that, and then the second article that I saw was kind of how, like, someone was basically like, there's now been 3 leaders that have tried to make Brexit work. I would imagine the person who proposed it, who was Cameron, right?
So
followed
Cameron,
by John Boris.
Prior to Boris was getting her name. The lady, I'll get it now. I'll actually get it now.
So but there's essentially been 4 leaders that have tried to make Brexit work, and it's been proven quite difficult. And the article that I read was maybe like that perhaps it's time to kind of accept that it might have been a failure, and to kind of try and reunite with the European Union. And with the matching protests that have been going on. I did see that kind of news, and I was just wondering if there was anything like to that, you know?
I think so. So the previous Prime Minister before Boris was Theresa May.
Yes.
She was the one that actually championed Brexit initially. And I think what worked in Liz Truss against Liz Truss was the fact that she didn't initiate these policies, the kind of these plans going forward, and she kind of had to run with it because she was appointed in the position. So she had to be the bearer of bad news and had to take the fall for it, unfortunately. Which I think might be something that Boris could use his advantage to say, look, I had prior knowledge of this.
Yeah, I
kind
know
of
what's going on.
helped
Yeah.
spearhead this. I should pick up the pieces. It should be mine to carry and see through. So be it either the reintegration of the UK into Europe, or to finalize Brexit, see it through, come up with some secondary plans on how to fix this, because things like the energy crisis, these are very pertinent things that have to be addressed now, and we need to see action now.
Load shedding came
it's going to be a very interesting. She thought I was the bad omen. I'm like, isn't that a South African thing?
I thought I left that behind.
Our jargon that we use back home. But apparently, we could be seeing load shedding in the UK in the heart of winter. So that's like end of Jan, beginning of Feb, where it's the coldest period in the UK, and we could see load shedding for like half a day at a time.
You get cold.
So,
you get cold. I know.
Man, I was already fighting for my life in South African winter. So
now it's there.
Prepared for me in UK winter, where it's winter. We're talking more than the K-way, guys. This is winter. This is
serious
snow.
winter.
This is ice. This is not sleet. There's levels to this thing. So hopefully, whoever the new Prime Minister is, they can come in, actually hit the ground running, implement policies, action these ideas, and actually get some backing, not only from the rest of Parliament, but from the UK population.
Yeah.
So,
I will just say before we wrap that up,
on
I think the big vibe lasted longer than Liz Truss. We've been longer than 44 days.
In that room, bro. There's a lot of shade coming, man. Yes,
but we did. I think we've been around longer than 44 days, haven't we? I think maybe not yet, but we will. Anyway, just thought I'd throw that in there.
So we'll put a ticker or a timer just to see how it lasts.
Next to the letters.
Next to the letters. Yeah, so we're getting to the big vibe, man. Going strong. Doesn't seem to be any fallout here. Things are looking good. So I'll give you guys a rest of what's happening in UK politics, let you know how it all pans out, and an update on who we see is kind of the favorite to become the new PM, and if they have a good memorandum that they're going to bring to the table and implement for the UK population.
And I think we will also be doing a politics-based episode in the very near future, where we're hoping to have a special guest on for that as well, where we speak about different political kind of systems and just kind of getting like I would say expert. He probably wouldn't call himself an expert, but I'd say like a more, let's say, insightful look into this. So just listen out for that. We are planning something like that.
Agreed. Yeah, that's really going to be a very interesting episode. So keep your ears and eyes peeled for that. And the second part of Around the World is this week. We obviously know that the headline news, aside from politics, is Halloween. Everybody knows Halloween. Trick-or-treating, or some really scary, gory movies that you can watch in the cinema at 11 o'clock at night. Back home, we had those real brave hearts that would go to Kempton Park Hospital at midnight and seek to find out the real ghosts that live and patrol around that abandoned hospital. So for the purpose of this conversation, we wanted to find out why it is that people celebrate Halloween. Where did it come from, and what are the customs practiced around the world? So I did a bit of digging, and I found that Halloween's origins can be traced back to ancient Celtic festival known as Samhain, which was held on November the 1st, now with contemporary calendars. It is believed that on the day, the souls of the dead returned to the homes, so people dressed in costumes and lit bonfires to ward off all evil spirits.
Was it like hiding in plain sight kind of thing?
Yes. It was. And then obviously it got commercialized. So it was initially an Irish tradition. Now that you mentioned it, it was actually spoken about on our tour in Ireland, where it was a custom that was practiced just within mainland Ireland, and then I think a few tourists got wind of it, and it became a lot more popularized and a lot more commercial in its representation once it went out into the Western world, like in the States, as an example.
Cool.
So that's where it originally started, and we have quite a few different ways in which it's celebrated around the world. So a quick roundup of how certain countries celebrate it. So we have Ireland, where it started, with it being called Samhain. Dublin is usually the city that hosts a parade every year, and Colcannon, I believe I've mentioned that correctly, is mashed potatoes mixed with kale or cabbage and barmbrack. Sweet potato, bread, and dried fruits are the traditional foods for the day. Barmbrack is used for fortune telling. Charms are added to the loaf, and your fortune for the next year depends on which charm you find in your piece of the loaf.
Oh, wow.
Very interesting to see there. Scotland uses sausages as their traditional Samhain food since the ancient times. And in fact, the Witchcraft Act of 1735 actually made it illegal to eat pork pastries on Halloween. This has since been relooked at, revoked. Again, we move a little further afield there, and we in Japan, where Kawasaki has a Halloween parade. It's usually for kids, and celebrations have an adult overtone to it, they say here. So there's no trick-or-treating, but there's plenty of cosplay and plenty of parties that happen on the day. Celebrations are said to have caused some chaos in Tokyo already this year, and the day itself hasn't even arrived.
Hasn't even happened yet.
To Italy, where people celebrate modern imported celebration of Halloween, alongside the traditional Organisade. I hope I said that correctly. It translates to an All Saints Day, and it falls on the 1st or the 2nd of November. So people generally celebrate a day or two in advance, and during Organisade, traditional traditions are that the souls of the deceased come back to visit the living relatives. So people decorate cemeteries with certain flowers, and they leave food out for visiting spirits. And then one that I think a lot of people know is the one in Mexico, Dia de los Muertos, which is the Day of the Dead. Exactly. A powerful fusion of traditional indigenous customs and European traditions. Dia de los Muertos is a 2-day celebration of ancestors and deceased family members, where the spirits of the dead come back to visit their families, and the living celebrate them with flowers, festivals, sweets, and images decorated with skulls and skeletons. So, that's just some history for everyone out there. Nice. Are you doing anything for Halloween? Is Halloween even considered in Thailand?
It is. There's a few, I've noticed there's a few kind of Halloween themed parties and stuff like that. My school doesn't celebrate Halloween, doesn't really believe in it. So we won't be doing anything from a schooling perspective, which my students are quite upset about. They wanted to make a haunted house, but I mean, such is life. You've got to deal with disappointment. Kids, I mean, that's kind of what I'm trying to teach them. But
that's school of hard knocks there.
I mean, I told them they can go find other things to do. I do feel sorry for them, but anyway, me personally. I don't think I'll do anything. I've mentioned it on the pod before, and you know very well that I don't do well with these things. I get frights so easily, man. Like I even given myself a fright a few times, like in the recent. I'm like, why am I so edgy? But no, I don't think I'll be doing anything. How about you? You got any plans?
Okay. Nothing planned from us, nothing on paper. I don't know, but perhaps there will be a movie marathon of the movie Halloween, since there's so many. I think they've just released the final one, or they're releasing the final one with Michael Myers, with the mask. And,
yes.
The story there. So it's a classic, like a cult classic slasher film. So I might watch all of that.
Okay.
In my neighborhood, there are quite a few families with small kids. So I think there'll be trick-or-treating. So we might put
Okay.
out a few treats.
Okay.
I don't know what the
Nice.
trick part of trick-or-treating is. I actually need to find out what that is. Do they do a trick before you give them a treat? Like,
No,
do
it's if
people
you
show you a
don't.
magic
You don't
trick,
know
or
this. You're
what's the
talking about all these
what's the
other
treat?
countries. You're talking about all these other countries and their traditions, but you don't
Or the
know the
trick?
normal. You don't know. Okay, so basically what they do is
I've left it to the master. Okay. Yeah.
they come, they knock on your door, they ask for a
Okay.
treat. If you don't give them a treat, then they pull a trick on you. Then they'll like egg your house or throw toilet paper or something.
okay.
That's how it works. Yeah.
Yes, I've seen that. Okay,
Yeah.
so I'll be sure to put a lot of candy out for all of the lovely kids around the block. Yeah, because I see in our supermarkets, they're big on Halloween. So you got masks, you have sweets, you have a whole aisle dedicated to Halloween. People have the spraying like spider web. They've got lanterns. They've got candy that they've marketed to be Halloween. So as an example, I really got stuck in here. These are Halloween type
Okay.
candies.
Okay, I see. I
So
see.
gums, things like that.
Okay.
That just add to the day.
The day.
So we'll keep an eye out. Let us know what you guys are going to be doing
Please
for
do.
Halloween. If you're into any of the traditional trick-or-treating, do you guys like dressing up? Are you going to parties? What is essentially on your agenda for Halloween this week? We'd love to hear from you guys. So like, subscribe, let us know on Instagram, TikTok, and if you're stepping out, remember that we are found on Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts. We're going to have this video on YouTube. We have our website, and I think I mentioned pretty much everything.
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
But that's a roundup for the first section, and we'll be heading into section 2.
So we now move into our second section of the pod that we like to call Getting Athletic. For this segment of the episode, we thought that we would continue a little bit with what we were talking about last week with the NBA, which started, Tev sporting his Philadelphia, his Phillies, his 76ers jersey over there. It started it started last week, 19th of October, were the first set of games. Like I mentioned in the previous pod, there was the Celtics and the Sixers, which was my highlight game on the East, and then the Lakers and the Warriors was my highlight game on the West. I will say that the Lakers are looking pretty trash this season. It's really not looking good for them. It's I don't really know what to say. I can't really explain it, but the NBA is a very, very long season. Just a quick roundup of some of the. I'm not going to give specific results, but if you look on the Eastern side, some teams have played 3, some have played 2 games. The Celtics have won their first 3, so that's a great start. But no one's really surprised. I think the only real shock is that their head coach was let go just before the season started, and they have an interim. He had a thing with one of his
consensual relationship with one of the staff.
Yeah, I think he might have had an affair on his wife, though. So I think that was like the whole big thing. So they have like an interim coach who's there right now. But yeah, so they won their first game against the 76ers, which is not an easy game to win because the Sixers are Harden is starting to settle in. Joel Embiid has been really, really good. So I would say on the Eastern side, the teams really to watch out for. Obviously, Celtics. The Bucks always look good. Nets are looking okay. They're struggling to gel. Maybe when Ben Simmons finds his feet. The 76ers lost their first 3 matches, but I don't think I would count them out. Same thing, Heat looks pretty good, even though they lost 2 and 1-1. Thing with the NBA, though, is I must just say it's a very, very long season. So it's very difficult to be like, oh, they lost 3 or they lost 2. So those would be my Eastern side. On the West, the Jazz started well. They're also a good side. The Clippers started well. Warriors, obviously, they won 1, lost 1, but they're just a good team. Mavericks are good. I think this is a unique, I was talking to my friend, it's a very unique season in that it looks very spread out. Like there's a wide variety of talents all over, and it's all about who can stay healthy. I think if the Nuggets can stay healthy, they will do exceptionally well this season with those guys. But I actually wanted to I was thinking a little bit just in general about the NBA, and I just wanted to say, like kind of just comment on something. So the NBA is unique in that they have the draft system, right? You know, where the college kids, you get drafted
picked.
in, and now, and to get your draft picks, you can either trade. So you can trade, like, let's say they trade Tevin for Tyler plus 3 first draft round picks, right? So that's one way you can get it. Or the lower you are in the league, the higher your draft pick will be, or there's better odds of you getting a number 1 draft pick. And there is a new kid on the block who they are calling generational. He's that long guy, Webanyama. I don't know his name, but he looks. I've seen reels of him on Instagram. He looks the part. So now there's this quite a problem that where the teams that are not looking so good, what they're noticing is that these guys seem to be throwing games subtly, but throwing them nonetheless. Putting on their like real second and third string players to come and play during those games. So they actually spoke to the chairman of the NBA. I think his name is Adam Silver, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, Adam Silver. He said that it's a bit of a problem and he doesn't really know how to solve it because they spoke about doing like a relegation promotion system like in the Premier League.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
But they say teams from the G League will not cope in the NBA, and it kind of messes with the whole business model that they've got going on. So yeah, I just wanted to give that little quick roundup, you know, just like of what happened in the last week. It is a fast-paced, difficult to keep up with sport, I'm not going to lie. But I thought it would be cool to start the Getting Athletics section just to kind of bridge over what we spoke. Oh, did you see the rings? I just wanted to ask you, did you see their rings that they got?
I did see the ceremony. Oh, it looks
rings look dope.
The jackets, if that's available, I'd like to put in an order for that.
Yeah.
Those rings were very nice, man. Very
and
nice.
It's crazy. So
classy.
Steph Curry has now won 4, right? You know, he's won 4 rings.
Mm-hmm.
There's such fine little details. You must go check it. You can see it on his ring. It twists and it opens up, and as it opens up, there's 4 little trophies inside his ring.
Oof, that's intricate,
So
man.
cool.
That is nice. That is.
I was like,
that
yo,
is sick.
fire. But yeah, anyway, yeah.
I'm sure people would prefer that over a medal. I mean, Premier League, where tons of money is available, you expect something a bit. Maybe they aren't as flashy lifestyle-wise, so maybe that's NBA, but a bit more that baller kind of presence that you generally associate. Flashy cars, live the lifestyle, the high life, essentially. But very interesting that you mentioned the topic about throwing games. I mean, it does create a very slippery slope in what is fair regarding the bolstering of your team. And also, with it being a team sport, does one individual on a general basis make a big difference to the team? So say the Nuggets are last this season and they get the first draft pick and it's this guy. Have we seen a trend where the first draft pick has a very notable impact on a team that's fighting relegation, as an example?
Not since, I would say, LeBron. Like, he was one of the only people that came in as a rookie and really, really changed the team. Last season, Cade Cunningham was the number 1 pick, and he was good, but it's very, very seldom that rookie that comes in is that influential. But I think what you essentially get is you get a talented player who, you know, the way the contracts work, I think you get them for 3 years or something like that. And essentially what you could be getting is if someone is exceptionally generational, you may not get that next season you'll compete, but in 3 or 4 years' time, if they are that good, then you essentially have a big asset for if you want to trade in 3 or 4 years. Then maybe you can trade this number 1 superstar for 3 players that your roster, because basketball is very much about a roster. It's like building the right. It's not 1 or 2 players that make it. You really need it's it's really cool because it's like really superstar individualistic in some ways, but in other ways it's very much roster based and making sure that your team is balanced. So if you get this crazy rookie now and he turns into something insane like LeBron did, then maybe in 3 years down the line, you're sitting with this asset that could get you 4 players, which can add to your roster. And I think that's what it's about. It's not about next season. It's about, okay, well, what does he...
like the long... Okay, very interesting. I actually really dig that. Cool. So, again, Tyler, with all the facts, with all the insight into basketball. So, myself, that's not a regular viewer. This is such great information to share, like Barry, with your mates at the weekend brides, etc. at the office. We now have a lot more to engage with, to talk about, and we're looking forward to hearing a bit more about basketball. So maybe by the end of the season, we'd understand the running of the game, how it works. We have now a bit more insight into how drafts work, and I think as we go along, we'll get a lot more insight into the game as a whole.
For sure.
Really looking forward to that. I think the second topic that we wanted to touch on under Getting Athletic was the World Cup. So just a reminder that the Men's World Cup is taking place in just under a month. Can't believe it's already here.
Yeah.
Just under a month. It's going to be, like we've mentioned before, a very interesting World Cup. It's the final World Cup for a lot of the star players, the GOATs of the game, Ronaldo,
especially
Messi,
in our
Neymar.
generation.
Yeah, exactly. So one to keep our eyes peeled for. We'll do an episode that's a bit more in depth. We'll talk through the groups, our predictions, the squads. Once we have a squad announcement, we'll commit an entire episode to breaking that down for you guys to understand.
For sure.
Who are the favorites? Who could be the dark horses? What are the predictions around it? And in keeping with World Cup, we have recently gotten the final group draw for the Women's World Cup, which will be taking place next year in Australia and New Zealand. So a quick run through here. For Group A, we have the host New Zealand, Norway, Philippines, and Switzerland. Group B, we have the co-hosts Australia, the Republic of Ireland, Nigeria, and Canada. Group C, there's Spain, Costa Rica, Zambia, Japan. Group D, we have the Euro winners, England. And then we're still awaiting the playoff winner for Group B, Denmark and China. Group E, we have USA, Vietnam, Netherlands, and the Group A playoff winner. So that's a very good matchup.
Tough group.
In prospect there, the USA versus the Netherlands, both seem to be quite star-studded. Group F, we have France, Jamaica, Brazil, and the Group C playoff winner. Group G, we have Sweden, we have South Africa.
Banyana.
AFCON holders.
AFCON winners, baby.
Italy and Argentina. And we
very
see
tough group as well.
H being rounded off by Germany, Morocco, Colombia, and the Congo Republic. I actually have a good feeling about South Africa, man. I don't generally say that when we're in any kind of continental competition, but Banyana are a class above Bafana, and Desiree has those girls playing. So really looking forward to see how that plays out. It's going to be a very exciting time, and I think we've seen the development and evolution in women's football. Getting their flowers, man. They're honestly getting the game time and the recognition that they deserve. We saw the Euros here that happened in the UK. It was blockbuster. People were bouncing seats in the stadiums. People were tuning in, and it was exciting. There were tons of goals. There was a lot of action. There was great moments.
Quality's just gotten experience. Quality's gotten a lot better. The investment from outside, just in terms of boosting the sports has been amazing. So I think it's really something to look forward to. I don't know much about women's football, but it is something that I like, the fact that it's getting bigger, because it's always sick to watch. I always enjoy watching those games. Yeah, man. I'm honestly looking forward to that. It's going to be really, really cool. In the world of cricket, we see that the T20 World Cup is underway. It kicked off with a blockbuster match where it was New Zealand versus Australia, and we saw the Kiwis beat the Australians by a whopping 89 runs. Currently on the go, we see that India had lost to Pakistan, and a few more
results that we've seen in the T20 World Cup.
South Africa hasn't played yet as we're recording now. I think they're playing Zimbabwe in their first game.
Yeah, we hope that the throats aren't too dry there in this tournament. There will be no choking happening here, but yeah, let's put our faith in the Proteas. Let's see what happens. Maybe they can prove us wrong this time.
Yeah.
But a quick roundup of results. We had Sri Lanka losing to Namibia. We had the Netherlands beating UAE. Yeah, I would have expected Sri Lanka to have taken that quite easily. Scotland beat the West Indies by 42 runs. Also,
big one for them.
Surprise there. Zim beat Ireland, 31 runs. Those were some of the earlier results in the tournament. So
yeah,
very interesting to see how this plays out. We see that SA play Zimbabwe in their match that's going to be taking place on the 24th.
Where is this World Cup? Do you know?
This World Cup is taking place. Let me get my facts straight.
Australia.
Yeah. There we go.
Yeah. Okay.
So
we keep an eye on
surely SA have to put in a good shift, man.
Yeah.
Against the Aussies. We know
we
what
have to hope so.
The relationship is when it comes to sport against Australians.
Yeah.
So fingers crossed the Proteas can finally silence a nation and do not choke when it comes to the knockout rounds. Proteas, we'll be praying for you guys, man. And then finally, in the world of sport, it's unbelievably already been 10 years since the Redbull Stratosphere freefall that we saw Felix Baumgartner do. I can't believe it was 10 years ago. Quite an amazing feat. The man went up into the stratosphere. You see the video all over YouTube,
it's all over.
In and broke the sound barrier before touching down on Earth. And I actually I wanted to kind of chat about where we see sport continue to push the boundaries. So be it the evolution of sports, bring the creation of new sports. I've recently seen that there is, I think it's called paddle, where you're essentially on a tennis court, but it's got set up like squash. You're using an actual paddle and a ball, and you're playing tennis, but you can use the environment around you. So the walls can be played off.
Yeah.
And I was very fascinated to see any other kind of hybrid sports or the new creation sports and where we see this going. Are there any avenues that you see sport moving into, or things that you'd like to see in the world of sport?
So I think what's happening is that this kind of idea of traditional sports is really starting to change. You and I, we touched on this when we spoke about the new cricket format in South Africa, and how sports really is evolving, and I do think there's a need for it. I think quite a cool story that will relate to this is, I don't know if you saw that Dana White has now signed, have you seen that slap contest that they do?
So we stand across each other and
so they stand across each other and it's like about slapping, and you see some pretty funny videos come out of that. But now Dana White has officially turned it into a real sport. He's as the UFC. I think it will be, I don't know if it's going to be directly related to the UFC, but he's essentially bringing that into his realm. And I think what he's doing is, and I mean, there's a lot of criticism that is thrown at Dana White, but one must understand he is a businessman, and I think he's quite knowledgeable about how to run a business. And I think what he's doing with this kind of thing and with the UFC in general is he's adding that sensationalist concept, or that sensationalism that I think this generation kind of needs to have sports. Like we spoke about with cricket, I think a lot of the younger generation struggles to commit that much time to a cricket match. So there needs to be a lot more excitement. I know that the MLS, the football in America, also has a lot more lights and flashy actions and stuff like that. So I kind of see, for me, that's the way sport seems to be moving, in that it seems to, I'm not going to call it sensationalism because I think that's quite negative, but I think that there's a growing attention to create it a lot more kind of eye-catching and grabbing and kind of holding. I don't know, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I do think that we're now seeing a lot more entertainment value being brought into sports. So as much as you have the traditional game being played, there's pyrotechnics now when people score goals in the MLS. There's, a lot more fanfare, if I can put it as that. So there's very interesting initiatives being undergone or taking place currently. And I think, I don't know how true it was. I heard that Hasbullah has also signed for the UFC.
Yeah, he signed for Dana White.
If that is true, then that's really great to be inclusive in the sport. I mean, you'd never traditionally see someone of his nature in a ring or an environment like that.
I don't think he's fighting though. I think he's an ambassador. I don't think he's fighting. I think he's just an ambassador. But yeah, I get what you say.
So Dana White, there you go. I've just given you a great proposition to also include
the memes,
the entire spectrum. Allow everybody the opportunity to fight. You know, if they have the passion for it, if they have the skills for it, give them the platform to do so. It's really interesting, man. So the paddle was one interesting aspect that I've seen sport kind of being pushed or molded and changed. I'm still getting to grips with Australian rules football.
Yeah, I don't get it. So it's difficult.
From the outside, it looks like a combination of rugby and football merged together, where you can either kick it over the rugby goalpost, or I can score in a goal where there is a goalkeeper. I can pick it up with my hands. I can throw.
You bounce it as well, like
so
basketball
there's a lot going
style,
on. Yeah, there's just so much going on. It kind of looked like Quidditch at one stage. So very, very interesting things out there. And as a very bold and tongue-in-cheek comment, I'd say that I would love to have seen a Olympics where there aren't banned substances. So allow Usain Bolt to dope, allow Phelps to dope, and we see how far we can push the human body. I want to see that 8.69 or whatever he ran turn into a 6.34. I want to see, machines essentially performing at what would be like peak physical application. That would be a very cool.
I think the biggest challenge that they have, I think with that, the biggest struggle that they would have will probably be, I don't want to say human rights protections, but I think that's where people are going to come in and be like, but like this is endangering human lives to do this kind of thing. You could turn around and argue and be like, but it's their choice and whatever. But let's remove all of that kind of complicated stuff. I think it would be mad to see that kind of thing. It would be so cool to see that kind of. I mean, I'm not putting myself through it. I'm just watching. But I think it's so cool.
We're talking about entertainment value right here, so I think that would definitely be up there. So let us know, guys, if there are some interesting sports that you've come across. I see spikeball as an example, as it isn't
it's a cool game.
Full-on sport, but I've seen it being picked up quite a lot and very, very interesting. So much fun, firstly, and then a lot of cardio involved, man. The techniques there, I'm seeing guys who are moving like ninjas in there.
It's a cool game.
If you haven't heard about it, go in, you check out spikeball. Very cool, very cool. Yeah. So let us know if there's some sports that you guys have come across. Things that you'd like to see, man. If you also like to see the steroid Olympics, you can see weightlifting guys on roids, guys are literally lifting buses. I don't know.
Crazy,
Let us know. TikTok, Instagram. If this is where you're going to be leaving us for this podcast, just remember to subscribe. We're on YouTube. We're on Instagram, TikTok, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. So don't forget to engage, and just let us know exactly what your thoughts are regarding.
You know the vibe.
And that's where we wrap up Getting Athletic for this week, and we move into our final section called What's Good in Your Hood. So What's Good in Your Hood is essentially the time for us to chat about what's of interest to us, some notable stories, kind of what we're feeling, and just, yeah, essentially what's on our mind. And today I wanted to pick out two good news stories from back home, so the hood of South Africa. I came across a story where the South African petrol brand Engine has pledged an initial 2.5 million rand in support of sanitation appropriate for education, aka SAFE, which aims to eradicate pit latrines in schools across the country. So if you're from SA, you would know that there's a lot of issues surrounding pit toilets in the rural schools. There's been a lot of outcry for it. We've seen multiple learners either be badly injured or sadly lose their lives by falling into these pit toilets, and it's a sad reality which should already be eradicated. We have the means, we have the resources, and it just might be a case of not using those resources well enough or misusing those resources. So I really appreciate that the external businesses like Engine are getting involved.
Private corporations.
Exactly, that the private sector is getting their hands on
dirty
matters like that. Literally getting their hands dirty and getting involved, and we're seeing action being taking place. So big credit to Engine for looking to resolve this. We've put it at the hands and the feet of the government and said, guys, look, this is the reality that so many learners face, amongst other things. The one thing that they'd at least expect is to be able to go use the toilet and still return home safely after a day at school. And it's sad that it's come to this where there is almost a reliance on the corporate world
sector,
and private sector to get involved when government, like we've said, have the means, they have the resources to do this. But a big round of applause to Engine. You guys are honestly doing the work that so many South African citizens would love to see and helping so many in need. So that was one of the big stories that came out. Just to give you a bit more insight into the story, bills from the community help transform the school's ablution facilities, which now include brand new bathroom quarters. These include 10 toilets and 6 basins in the girls' bathroom, as well as 4 toilets, 6 urinals, and 3 basins for the boys' bathroom. And this was at Madima Primary School in Solsport, Modderkraal in the Northwest Province. So one of many initiatives taking place. Thank you, Engine. We love the work that you guys are doing. And keep doing it. Everyone else that has seen the efforts and the lengths that Engine has gone to for this, we hope that you guys also get involved, and we see a lot more initiatives like this taking place across SA to help those in need. We've seen learners that are still being schooled underneath trees, guys that are really just waiting on textbooks to be delivered. We're trying to get as many learners through high school in order to pass their matric and give them the opportunity to go and make something of themselves in the working world, to really live out their aspirations of their career, both professionally and then socially, to support themselves, support their families, and all of those that may depend on them for life. So thank you, Engine.
It's a really cool story. I think, we often speak about, and there's a very big understanding around the world that education is kind of like the key to upliftment, right? And obviously as a teacher, I firmly believe that. So you look at stories like this, and I must just say, not just Engine, I've heard quite a few. I mean, this is one of the beautiful things about South Africa. So I think the reason Tev decided to bring this story in is because I think it's quite easy to get into a rut and complain about things that are going on back home. But we wanted to give some flowers to those that deserve it. And I think you see quite a few examples of this in South Africa. I remember ABSA, if I'm not mistaken, it was ABSA, did an initiative that might actually still be going on, where the whole program was about mentorship to young, specifically boys that had lost their fathers, or their fathers were no longer at home. And it was like a mentorship that the whole thing was to educate young boys on becoming meaningful members of society, with the reasoning being that through this education and this mentorship, they were hoping to lower like domestic abuse and things like that. So, the points I'm just trying to make is like, it's really cool of Engine, and, South Africa comes through once again. I mean, I know there is a fair amount of complaining, and often rightly so. I'm not going to say that people mustn't complain. But, this is just another example of how people come through, and we do know and appreciate that about our country.
Yeah. So be it on a corporate level, be it on an individual basis in your communities, we love to see it. Another one that I just remember now was Child Safe. So Discovery SA, a big thank you to you guys that are looking to get learners to school and back home safely.
Lovely.
Yeah, we've already seen how big an impact this has had in the Western Cape especially. So we look to see a lot more of those initiatives being undertaken and done. So thank you everyone that's lending a helping hand in whichever form that is. Just thank you for always being such great people, man. That ethos and spirit of Ubuntu that we spoke about last week, we love to see it being played out on the day-to-day. So big credit to all of you. And then the second story I came across was the Take One, Leave One reusable bag initiative that was launched. Essentially, this was the Good Things Guy and Spa. They came together to collaborate and launch South Africa's first Leave One, Take One reusable bag shopping initiative. And this was to work for the benefit of the environment. We see how much plastic waste we still have in SA with plastic bags, and this is to get people into the habit of using reusable packets. We're trying to minimize our impact on global warming, and this is one of those ways. Essentially, you can go into your local spa, and there's a demarcated area where you leave your bags. So should you have come into shop that day and you don't have a bag, you can pick one of those up, do your grocery run, and next time that you come into a store, you can leave a bag or two, and the next person will then make use of your
forward,
bag. So,
essentially,
Exactly.
Nice one.
So
Nice
another
one.
simple yet brilliant initiative that we like to see. So I just wanted to highlight those two and give props.
And South Africa is quite good at that as well. I mean, we do want to speak a little bit about environmental things at a later stage in another episode. It's not just a quick little throw in here, but I will say South Africa has, and I mentioned this in a previous pod, but South Africa is really good at like the small things when it comes to like reusable plastic. I will say that both Katya and I have noticed it, small things, paper straws, the big drive for plastic bags to come to an end, all those kinds of things. So yeah, big ups, and I really like this take one, leave one, pay it forward kind of. That's really cool. Nice story.
Nice one, Spa. So yeah, we're gonna conclude today's episode with just some fun. We're gonna talk about 5 things that we love about our new homes, our new countries, our cities, whatever it may be. Just some 5 notable things that we really enjoy about where we're living. I'll have Tyler kick us off with that one.
Alrighty, here we go. Okay, so I made my little list of the 5 things that I love about being here.
Lovely.
The first one I'm going to say is food. Okay, so this comes in 2 forms. So number 1 is, I think Thai cuisine is absolutely amazing. It is delicious. I mean, there's some crazy things, but it's in general really, really tasty. And I must say to our South African listeners that eat Simply Asia, that's not Thai food. I'm sorry, like it's not. I'm sorry, like I'm not saying it's not
shame
nice.
The 514s.
Hey, I'm not saying it's not nice, but that's not Thai food. I'm dead honest with you. So from a terms of the local food that's here, it's absolutely phenomenal. But also like the international food that's here, like I'm finding like the food that I have access to is a lot broader. So like there's a lot more like, let's say, Dutch restaurants or like Swedish restaurants, and I'm not talking about IKEA, I mean like proper restaurants or proper Middle Eastern restaurants. And what's really cool is like those restaurants are owned and run by people from that country. So it's like the Indian food that you eat is from like a proper, you know, like, okay, Indian's a bad example based on South Africa, but like, let's say like Lebanese, like the Lebanese food that I eat here is like a proper like Lebanese guy that's cooking for me. So I'll say that the first thing on my list was food. The second thing is markets. It's just really, really nice markets. Yeah, it's like back home's flea markets, just kind of on steroids, man. Like the markets here are just so good, so vibrant, just so nice to go to. So that was my second one. The third one is just the nightlife here, especially in Bangkok. So I am not necessarily a partaker in nighttime activities anymore, but I'll say that Bangkok, day and night, like it's a contrast. The city transforms overnight. Like I think it's because it's hot as well during the day, but the nightlife here is really something else. Like it's a beautiful city to go around at night. Not necessarily easy to get around traffic wise, but it's really, really nice in terms of the nightlife. Number 4 is what I like to call organized chaos, which is what I've experienced here. Yeah, I've experienced that here in Thailand, where I find that things are sometimes chaotic, but everything will get done. There's a thing here they call sabai sabai, or like everything's okay. Like don't worry, sabai sabai, everything's fine. It is a bit chaotic at times, but it always works. That's the difference that I've noticed. Specifically between like here and home. I don't know if you've seen pictures where they show like the wiring here in Thailand, like on
it looks like it's exposed, like it's
oh
there.
My word, there's a big program to fix it, but I mean, when I say organized chaos, that's what I mean. Like you can just see this tangled up wires and everything, but everything works, like no problem. Everything works. We have crazy good internet. We have no problems with electricity. Sorry, Tev and all South Africans, we don't have anything like that. So, like, I'm just saying. So, organized chaos was my number 4. Yeah.
Do you have a lot of the traffic? So a lot of people say, especially the moped guys, where it's a lot of just like coming, diverging.
So
and even if there's no robot, there's an understanding between all the road users. Somehow.
Yeah. So it was more, I noticed that a lot more in Vietnam than here. Here it's very busy, but here there is more, especially here in Bangkok, there's more traffic lights and stuff, but there is also an understanding where we all kind of, I drive a motorbike, so like we all kind of know more or less what to do without, it's not so complicated, like we know what to do, you know. So yeah, what you're saying is true. And then number 5, and this is crazy, I would say it is the contrast between the old and the new. I've never seen anything. So Thailand is ancient, right? It was also never really colonized. There's obviously external influences, but it was never really colonized. But it's so crazy and like eye-opening to see. Like you'll be walking down the road and you'll see, like, let's say an old temple, right? That's like, you can see this thing was built like easily 100 years ago. And it's old and it's still obviously beautiful, you know, and all these things. And then literally right next door is like a 7-Eleven or like a super cosmopolitan, like crazy new restaurant. And it's like, you see that all over the show, and not just in terms of the architecture. It's like you'll be walking and you'll maybe walk past like a monk who's doing his thing, walking barefoot, and they're busy offering, they're busy making offerings to him, you know, all that kind of thing. And then as you like walk past him and you look up, then you're like, oh, look, that's a weed shop. Or, oh, look, this is like a fancy massage place, if you know what I'm saying. Hint, hint, nudge, nudge.
Yeah.
It's not all over the show, but it's there. So it's just that sharp contrast between like this old traditional kind of like this really cultural side, and then like right next to it, it's like directly next to it, then you see this super modern traditional, I mean, like just up to date. Obviously Bangkok is like one of the biggest cities in the world, so I really, really love experiencing on a day-to-day basis, like just this, like I said, it's the old and the new, and it's just together.
Nice,
and I imagine you see it in Europe around as well, but I really, really have noticed it a lot here. So those are my 5. Really cool. It was food, markets, what did I say? Organized chaos.
Yeah.
What was number 4? Damn, I forgot.
4 was food,
Nightlife
organized chaos.
and
Yeah.
the contrast between the old and the new. Those are my 5.
Nice. That's
How
very
about you?
Cool. Very cool list there. For me, I'll start out with a notable one, the Premier League. I've only, man, seeing it on TV is one thing, but being in the stadium, and I was, very fortunate to go to that City vs Palace game, which is, a roller coaster of emotions. I thought we had lost the game at halftime, came back, Haaland hat-trick. It's exceptional, and it's such a difference and a different environment to be in than back home. It's for a first timer, I'd say it was exceptional because I've gone from only knowing vuvuzelas and music, and that's a big vibe. I love that about our football stadiums. But you're now moving into an arena where it's choral. People are singing, people are chanting. They are the voices that are lifting the spirits of the players and kind of building the vibe. So that was really cool. The second thing is music tours and concerts. Guys, World Tour starts here. This is part of World Tour. I know it's Justin Bieber World Tour is coming through. Lies. But now it's available, and it's available not once a year, not every 5 years. They're literally doing tours. Like, you can go and see your favorite artists nearly every week.
Wow.
As an example, around England and nearby in Europe. So that's a big positive. I think once we've moved out of the cold and the rainy weather, so once we back into summer, I'm going to get involved in a lot more concerts that are being held in the park, or if I'm going to the Royal Albert Hall, or festivals. So we went to a festival not too long after we came here, and it was awesome, man. It was really cool to have such big headliners at what
Who did you see?
was promoted as a small gathering, man. It wasn't as hyped. So some acts were Jocelyn Brown. If you know soul and R&B, she was quite big in that area. There was Crazy P, who's also big in the disco scene. It was a disco festival, essentially.
Nice.
And Michael Gray, so you know The Weeknd.
I
can't wait for the weekend. Yeah, so he was one of the notable acts. He's not someone that we'd generally see back home, but for a small, intimate type of festival, that was really cool to see.
Nice.
That leads me into the third advantage is access to neighboring countries, so the European countries.
Nice.
I can take a flight out. I can go through the English Channel, and I thought the English Channel was one long tunnel that people drive into, not knowing that Eurorail, you park your car on the train and you're there within about. So from England to France, I watched a YouTube video and it said it's about between 30 minutes and 45 minutes.
Wow.
And then you're in France already. So that's mind-blowing to me. I can't believe that that's even an option. And I mean, Dublin is a 45-minute flight. So that was amazing.
And affordable, those flights?
And Dublin especially. I love Dublin. Oh, yeah, Dublin. Irish people, you guys are amazing. Very homely. It felt like South Africa.
Okay,
so
cool, man.
It was South Africa, an extension of South Africa. So that was really nice. So access to neighboring countries. Fourth, very similar to you were the markets and thrift shops. So thrift shops are quite big here, and it's night and day when it comes to quality. So more often than not, you'd find something that's either new, unworn, or it's literally been worn once, and they're serious when they say worn once. So you can find some gems there for a fraction of the price, and it's just so amazing to see how we treat thrift shops back home versus how they deem it here. So that's very cool and very interesting. And then the last thing I'd say isn't as elaborate as the previous four, but it's a big advantage, is the ability to walk everywhere. It's something that I didn't necessarily take too much consideration.
Take it for granted.
Yeah, man. It was such a weird feeling walking through the street at 1 o'clock in the morning without any stress, any worry. And this is maybe a walk that lasts 20 minutes in nearly pitch black darkness. There wasn't any fear like with me present at the time. It was so calm. I could walk with my phone, and it was such a different space to be in. So I think it's something that I generally took for granted. But access just to move around, and more often than not, public transport also works fairly well.
I think
it was small.
I think I could mirror that, both of those things. Just we don't walk a lot here because it's hot. It's really hot. You don't walk. Like, it's so hot, dude. Like, you don't want to walk anywhere.
You guys
but you could.
Like this.
But you could. You could walk around if you wanted to. And the safety aspect, 100%, I feel I completely agree. And also, obviously, public transport working here. And I think both of those things safety is not something we take for granted. Obviously, we know that it was, in some cases, in our case, it was also part of why we moved. But the public transport and things just working, like, that's something that you just take for granted. But yeah, I do agree with those two things. And also, just before we wrap it up, I want to say thanks for bringing this in as a topic. I think last week you were quite vocal about some things that you were struggling with, with the move. And I think this is a nice contrast in that, just for those that are listening, this was Tevin's idea to talk about this. And I think it's really cool of you, man, to like kind of flip the coin over and look at it from the other side. So well up. Thanks for that.
Thank you for giving me the space, man. Yeah, last week I expressed my challenges that I was facing with being away from home and integrating into a new environment. And Tyler dropped some gems there just about perspective, man, and how it's important, and something that I have noted and remind myself every day is that you must be comfortable with being uncomfortable. So in order for things to change, you need to be willing to make the effort, make the basically make the effort and change in order to
just see the brighter side, like you're doing right now. Speaking of which, when's your next Premier League game before we wrap this up? Any ideas?
So I'm waiting to hear when the Spurs City game's supposed to happen. That one got postponed because of the late Queen's passing, but the next one should be Fulham. So
is that before or after World Cup?
Next month. That's before World Cup.
Okay, you've got to get one in before the World Cup.
Yeah, exactly. So hopefully that's all on schedule, and I'll give you guys an update. Maybe I'll even do a mini vlog that you guys can check on our social channels. So
that'll be mad.
We're going to be doing quite a bit of extra creative content just to give you guys some eyes and ears of what things looks like. We haven't forgotten about the shopping trip, so we still have that underway, and we'll compile that just to give you guys some perspective on what the price is of the basic goods, but also just to give you guys scope of what supermarkets look like here, or markets in general.
I think maybe what we can try do, Tev, is both of us can try and capture one of these 5 things in some form or another.
I love that idea.
I think that'll be quite cool. So if we're saying that these are the 5 things that we love about being here, maybe we can try and capture them, whether it be in an image or in a short little video that we can somehow incorporate into the episode, or just throw onto our social media, something like that. So let's do that.
Awesome. That's a brilliant idea. Really, really like that. Yeah, man. That's where we're going to wrap today's episode off. Thanks you once again for sitting through with us, being a part of this, engaging with us, giving us your opinions and giving us your ears and eyes. It's really nice for us to produce the show, man. We have a lot of fun.
Yeah, we're having fun,
and we were absolutely loving it. So thank you yet again. A reminder where to find us. That's on YouTube. That's on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. We're on TikTok. We're on Instagram. We also have our website where you can find all of our links. We'll leave that down below for you guys to access. Thank you again. That's all I
Thanks, everyone. That's a wrap, and you know the vibe. We'll see you guys next week.
Cheers, everyone.